Good morning and welcome to today's Triathlon New Zealand race number 5, but more importantly today we're racing for Tony. So today's race has been renamed to Tony's race, as you can see there going across the screen. As you would have all heard the news this week, Tony O'Hagan tragically passed away and has left a huge hole in the triathlon community. And in a lot of people's lives, if I'm honest. And I've had some great stories shared with me and a whole bunch of photos. So we're going to do a bit of a photo reel shortly, just before the race starts, just for us all to remember Tony in our own ways. And he was a big Zwifter. I got to know him really well over the last sort of 3 months during lockdown. I mean, I've known him since I've been in the sport for about 12 years, but yeah, we had quite a few messages about Zwifting, and we're both pretty big Zwift addicts, and he was a big supporter of the series, which was awesome, and had heaps of his athletes racing throughout the series. They're leading the current coach group standings by a big margin, so keep an eye out for all the O'Hagan athletes out there today. They'll have a bracket OHS after their name, and just saw a message come through from Tracy Livingston, who is currently Zwifting side by side with Rachel's partner, Tony's partner Rachel. So they'll be Zwifting there side by side and remembering Tony today. So it's a flat, fast course, but before we get into the racing, let's have a look at a bit of a photo reel of Tony. Wow. Thanks everyone for sharing so many of those photos. I was looking through them last night as I was preparing for this morning, and I think sometimes it's easy, to talk about a triathlete just in terms of their results. And, Tony had many, many amazing results over the decades. But what I've found, looking at those photos, hearing stories from so many of you, is that what a generous person, and a huge supporter of triathlon, all his athletes, everybody really. He's at so many events that I would go to. He's there with the school kids he coached, with the O'Hagan crew that he coached, just willing to give a hand. And it is going to leave a massive hole in the triathlon community, and he will be deeply, deeply missed. And I hope, this is just a small thing we can do, but I know, one of his athletes said to me, he would have just said, take a concrete pill and harden up and get out there and race fast. So I hope today everyone can, just put out some good performances in memory of Tony. We've got a flat and fast course coming up. It's 5 laps of the Richmond Fan Flats course, about 30 kilometers today. It's going to be very fast, and I hope that everyone just lays it out on the table, races hard, and, races thinking of Tony. So here we go. We're 1 minute 30 away, following the men's A group race here. We've also got the women's race, which we have got up and running. They're starting in just over 15 minutes. And 5 laps today. I think key will be the aero power up, as people want to get that aero benefit. I think it will come down to a sprint finish in today's race, just being that there is only about a 2 to 3% gradient each lap, but it's very short. So there might be breakaways there if people have got the breakaway burrito power up, or maybe even the invisibility. But I think it is going to come down to that aero power up at the finish. I think we've seen James Barnes on the start line, and I know that he is a big powerhouse when it comes to sprinting. And then also seeing a few there as well. We've got a bit of chat here coming from Rob Dallymore, John Newsom, got Quentin Fogarty there, one of Tony's athletes. So we'll see how Quentin goes today. He'll probably be very, very motivated. Mark Bousted, I see, Gordon McCauley. So we've got some heavy hitters here on the start line. So just over 20 seconds away. 5 laps, the Fan Flats, riding through Richmond. We have been to Richmond before in the league. It's where we had the 2015 UCI World Championship. So that course had a few hills, a few punchy climbs, but this one is a very, very flat course today. So here we go. Race has started. We'll move up through the field. We can see here Barnes there. Yep, he is up with Josh Harrison. So we will have a nice little battle going on between those two. They are at the top of that A+ league. We've got Mark Boasted. We're just following Keith Eckersley here. And looks like it is starting off very quickly. 7.8, 8 watts per kg. These guys are not messing around. 8 watts a kg coming from James Barnes, with Josh Harrison also up at around that 8 watts. They are starting off with not messing around at all in this A category race. They are stringing out the field already. So they've settled back down now into about 5 watts per kg, as we see a few of the riders bunching up now. Looks like... Oh, we've got Darragh Walsh here. So he's another O'Hagan Sport athlete. Good to see Darragh Walsh out here in the A category. Quentin Fogarty, like I said. We've got Hayden Wild racing today as well. We've got Donal McGoldrick. He's got the Irish flag next to him, but he's also a resident here in New Zealand. Was coached by Tony O'Hagan, so we've got a great turnout there in this A category. Rob Dallymore, as we see him, Mark Boasted at the front, and an aero power-up being dropped already. That's early days. That's coming from James Barnes. So he's dropped that aero power-up. He's gained a little bit of a gap, but Ryan Kazanowski right on him. He's got his aero power-up. He has caught him up. This race is starting off extremely dynamic for what is a 30-kilometer race. I thought it might have started a bit more mellow, but looks as though they are very, very motivated to have a fast race today. So we can see Ryan Kazanowski still off the front. He's on that orange Tron bike with the black kit. He's just now getting caught by Ben Phillips, Josh Harrison here, and Ben Phillips is now putting an attack off the front. This is very, very fast racing. So that was up at 8 watts per kg. That is just insane. These guys are just going bananas. So we've got Tyrone Hellier here. They've just rounded that left-hand turn. They're coming down these flat. Like I said, it's just pretty much an absolutely flat course, 0% grade for almost all of it, apart from a little kick at the start of each lap. You can see here going up, that went up to about 4%, but really not for that long. So it is going to come down to a big sprint finish, I believe, today, as people are dropping those feather power-ups up this very short little gradient. So, well, a lot of feather power-ups being dropped. So with the race today, you probably want to ditch the power-ups that aren't the aero power-ups. So you just want to have the aero power-ups. Probably why you're seeing a lot of feathers being ditched on that little bit of a gradient as people want to save that aero power-up for the finish. So coming through here, who else have we got today? I've got Mark Bosted. He's at the front of this group. We've got Brody Madgwick today, Josh Harrison, Tyrone Hellier, and Quentin Fogarty. Like I said, he's there. Hayden Wild. So these guys are all in this front pack. Bobby Kells doing well here. Heath Eckersley, Brody Madgwick, Ben Phillips is there. This is a big front pack. You're looking at probably about 30 to 40 riders maybe in this main pack. Gordon McCauley's made that main group. Darrell Walsh is there also. So I'll follow Darrell Walsh for a bit. He's just off the back of this main pack. Looks like a group has been dropped. So Andrew Vane, about 30, Finney and Orr, these guys are about 35 seconds back. So those initial big attacks of those 8 watt per kg bombs have just broken that field up to around a 30 group elite bunch at the front, and then behind them will be the remaining around 25 riders. So elite bunch here, but I would anticipate that they'll want to break it down even further. So just going around the monuments here on Monument Ave in Richmond, Virginia. If you've been watching the protests that have been happening over in the US, a few of those monuments have actually been torn down now. So in Zwift, it's just pictures of cyclists. So hopefully we won't see any little avatars tearing those down. But here we go. We've got John Newsom in this group. Heath Eckersley I see there. Speedy Gonzalez. He's one of the league athletes. Gotta love that name. Great to see Donald McGoldrick and Darrell Walsh making this front pack as well. So big front pack here, but it looks like there is another attack off the front. We'll move our way to the front, see what's happening here. That is a Hayden Wild, 11 watts a kg I saw just pulling up there, catching onto the wheel of Ben Phillips. So these guys have gapped the field behind them by about 3 seconds. Now, little inside trick for Zwift. If you want to put an attack, best place is around these hairpin turns on a flat course. Reason being is that the bunch will actually slow down a bit. The algorithms in Zwift slow the bunch down just on those hairpin corners. If you attack going into the corner and out of it, you can get a big gap on a field. So it looks like these guys may have known that, and they've got about 4 to 5 seconds now on this chase group being led by Jay Hunt here. Grant Clifton as well. So they have got, they're about 4 seconds behind. Looks like they are gaining. They've got some aero power-ups being dropped. So that person who dropped that looks like he may start to pull them back in. So it looks like S. Travers and R. Tommy here are starting to bridge over that gap. So nice little attack. We wouldn't expect anything less from Hayden Wild, to be honest, and Ben Phillips as well. These guys are here to party, so they are putting in some big watts to break away from this field. So they'll be coming, they've just done their hairpin turn. They're going to be coming down on this flat road around some of these little monuments, around some roundabouts. And then they'll be finishing off lap 1. So each lap is around about just over 5K. So about 5.2 kilometers, I think, each lap. And it's a 5-lap race today called the Fan Flats. So Zwift did a recent update. Richmond's been, other than Watopia, the longest running course on Zwift. Needed a bit of an update, and yeah, they've done a bit of prettying up of the course. It just does look like some people may have been dropped off the back. Yes, they have. It looks like Darrell Walsh has just been dropped off there with Gordon McCauley, so he does have a heavy hitting group with him, but Gordon McCauley, Darrell Walsh here, they have just dropped off the back of that main pack. So that main pack looks like it's whittled down from about 30 to about 25 with those attacks that were coming from Hayden Wild and Ben Phillips. So we'll go back up here to Ryan Kazanowski. We'll see who else is. Quentin Fogarty. Great to see Quentin Fogarty make this front pack. So we'll follow him for a while. He, I believe, is on that orange Tron bike. And he'll be racing with a lot of motivation today. So this main group, about just on 20 riders. So looks like each lap, the strategy of Ben Phillips and Hayden Wild and Josh Harrison is to put in some decent sort of 8 watt per kg, 1 minute turns and start to whittle down this front pack as they come around that corner. They're now into lap number 2. I may just go over and see if I can open up Zwift Power, because we'll get some interesting stats on the racing from Zwift Power as well. So let me just open that up. We'll see whereabouts these guys are. And we've got the women's races starting to fill up the pens, and they are about 6.5 minutes away from starting their race. So I'll just head on over and see if we can get this race results coming up live. Here we go. Great turnout in today's race. So around, I think it was 200 in the men's race and about close on 80 in the women's race. So great turnout today for our Tony's race. And we're just looking at the live results coming in now for the A category. Yeah, about 25 riders in this main pack, averaging 4.8 watts per kg. So they've just gone around into lap number 2, about 6.8 kilometers in, averaging some massive power numbers here. So that is some great stats. If you have the chance and you're watching the live stream, it is quite great to go into Zwift Power and just have a look at the live results coming in too. You get a real feel for the watts that these guys are throwing down. I mean, it's just absolutely massive. As we see Donal McGoldrick looked like he was just off the front there, but he's actually mid-pack there, racing through with this lead pack. So great to see Donal and Quentin Fogarty up in that main group. As we see them, it looks like they're just about to come past and lap some of the D riders. So we'll stay here with Donal just so we don't accidentally click out. But yeah, because it's a 5-lap course today, it's almost like a criterion. We may see a bit of lapping of the other riders just because this A group is moving so quickly, riding around at about 45 watts per kg. And you can see there with Donal averaging about 350 to 360 raw power coming through here. So that is just it's mind-boggling how fast these guys can just ride and hold these huge watts. So see Quentin Fogarty here just riding next to Donal McGoldrick. We've got Rush here as they're just coming past some of their D riders, so we can maybe do a bit of a call out to some of our D riders we don't usually see until the end of the race. So that is what's quite nice. So we see Hayden Wild just moving ahead there. We've got, is that Dougal Allen? I'm not quite sure if that was him. Someone tell me if Dougal Allen's racing today. I wasn't sure. That might be Dougal Allen, I think, just here. I believe it is. So someone tell me if Dougal Allen's racing today. I haven't actually seen him in any of our Zwift races. So that may be Dougal Allen who is out there leading this little charge here. So they're just coming up 10k in, so about a third of the way through this race. And he is putting in a good attack here, about 5.5 watts per kg, but you got Josh Harrison. He knows the game. He's chasing. He's coming up through those D riders, and he is pulling in this break. So they're not gaining too much. He's just got a second, but like I said, if he can attack around this hairpin, he will actually have a benefit due to the algorithms of Zwift and be able to pull ahead. But looks like he may not have known that, and he's just been caught by, looks like Donald McGoldrick, Heath Ecclesey was there, and Josh Harrison. So he got caught fairly quickly on there, as we see some D riders of the yellow dots in the top of the screen as these guys come through. Looks like Sean Houlihan there is one of the D riders, Goggin as well. A few of the league athletes, as we see some aero power-ups being dropped. This group from that aerial shot you can see is getting quite select. I'd be worried about James Barnes, who is just sitting at the back of this group. I mean, he has been doing very well in the league, and he may just be playing it pretty right here, hiding in the back, hiding, and then just showing his cards right at the end. So these guys are coming through to round out lap number 2 now. So we're about 2.5 minutes away from the women's race kicking off. We'll be following the A category there. We can see Rebecca Clark is on the start line, Diana Simpson. She's was coached by Tony for a very long time, very great athlete. Eva Nugent as well, another O'Hagan sport athlete. Great to see them there. And I think Penny Pawson also on the start line. So good turnout of some big riders in the women's field. It's going to be an interesting race there. As the women do all start together. Unlike the men where the A's, B's, C's and D's start about a minute apart, the women start all in one group. So that is a much bigger draft effect. You can see some of the B's can actually pull themselves up and ride with the A's. So as we see, a great little attack there coming from Donald McGoldrick off the front of these A's. Great to see him digging out at the front there. And then we've got John Newsom. He's pulling ahead here. These guys have settled down a little bit, just riding about 4 watts per kg, settling in. They know they've got 3 laps to go after this one, so they may have just come round into that second lap. Let's head over to Zwift Power and just see where these guys are at. So they are now, they have passed through into lap number 2. We can see, there's a whole bunch of stats here. So 24 riders in that front pack. So their watts per kg have dropped a little bit. They were riding about 4.8. Now it's about 4.6. As we see some big numbers here, Donald McGoldrick is riding at about 4.5 watts per kg. Dougal Allen, so it is Dougal Allen who's out there. He is averaging 5.1 watts per kg, average of 417 watts. So that's crazy numbers. Don't know what's going on there, but that is some intense numbers that Dougal Allen is throwing down. He may be new to Zwift, so he may just be burning a few matches. Not sure. As we look at some of our other A riders there, we've got Rob Dellymore in that front group, Quentin Fogarty. So he is riding at about 347 watts. So very interesting stats here from that men's field as we're following John Newsom here, passing a few more D riders. We will just cut over to the women's field shortly as they kick off in about 10 seconds. Oh, that looks like it's frozen. Let me fix that, and then hopefully we can come back to that. There we go. As we move our way, big turnout in the women's field. As we're following Penny Pawson here, she, I think, has decided to ride a time trial bike, which is, she messaged me last night about what bikes to use, and it looks like she's gone time trial. So she's, that's going to be interesting for her. There will be no drafting for Penny Pawson today. So she is a very, very accomplished Zwift racer though, so I'm sure that won't hurt. Let's have a look what's happening in the women's field as they've just started off. We're following Penny Pawson here. We've got Eva Nugent as well, just up the road. So let's have a look if we move our way up. So like I said, all the women start together. So you might see some B's and D's here as well. See if we can. We've got Nicole Newman, Sarah O'Grady. Let's see if I can get, there we go. Eva Nugent there. So Oh, just ahead of her was Rachel Quinn. Great to see her out racing. Great to see all those OHS athletes, the O'Hagan Sport athletes. Obviously an incredibly difficult time, but it's so good to see them out here racing today's race. And I know that Tracy Livingston and Rachel Quinn are on their bikes together, racing away side by side. So I hope you guys can motivate each other and have an awesome race out there today. Let's have a look. Following Eva Nugent here, we've got Emma O'Connor, so she's been doing very well in the lead. Rebecca Clark, I've just seen actually that there may be a little breakaway just up the front, but we have Sophie Lyskett there as well, Emma O'Connor, Sarah Morrison, Kate Brown from Sweat 7, who had an absolutely dominating performance last week as she basically TT'd her way around the big loop to the win. So she's had a very great series too in this Triathlon New Zealand League. As we can go through, who else have we got here? We've got Britt Lytton, I can see racing there, and Heather Neal is up there. Diana Simpson, so I've just seen her name pop up. So this is a nice main little group here in the women's field. It looks like if we go back, it's about, you're looking at about 25 in this lead women's group. So that is fantastic. I've just seen Martina Fellman as well. So another OHS athlete, O'Hagan Sport. So there's a nice little group of the O'Hagan Sport athletes in this front pack of the women's field. So awesome work there, ladies. That is a big front group. We're looking at about 25. That's probably the biggest front female pack we've seen in these Zwift leagues so far. Usually it breaks apart very quickly, but good to see such a dominating performance from the women with so many of them out there racing. As we see, we're following Diana Simpson here. So she's she might be, it's hard to see what bike she's got there, just as we've got so many riders in that front pack, but she might actually just be there in that orange kit. We'll keep an eye. They are rolling through very quickly. So that is around, looks like she's gone up to about 280 watts. So they're not messing around. Like the men's race, I thought maybe it would start a little bit easier, being a bit longer, but no, it has absolutely started hard from the gun. And you can see just there, a few riders just kind of tailing off at the back a little bit. So that just shows the pace is on. So it's a nice group there of A's, a few B's as well with Sophie Lyskett and Britt Lytton there. And even a few C's have actually made it into that front group. It is the thing about the draft and Zwift. You don't actually need to necessarily be the fastest say time trialist. You just need to find a good draft, and basically you can stay in, you can hide in the back of the pack and really hold not that higher watts, but get dragged along with the draft effect. So we see Sarah O'Grady there, Martina Fellman, Lindsay Armstrong, looks like Nicole Eumann, also an O'Hagan Sport athlete, has made that front pack, and Rachel Quinn. So that is some great team performances there already in this front group. As we look at it, that great aerial shot, so that group is about 20 to 25 strong. We'll try and get some Zwift Power stats on them as well, as we're following Diana Simpson going around this Fan Flats course. So they are about 3 kilometers in, about 2/3 of the way through lap number 1. So we'll jet back to the men, see what's happening there, see if there's been, it looks like a little attack off the front actually. There we go. These guys have mostly stayed together as they're catching up to some of the C riders. They're just riding through a C bunch here. I can see Graham Perks actually there. Will Verrar, another O'Hagan Sport athlete, as they just went through that B. Man, they absolutely blew through that B group. I thought maybe some of the Bs would just latch on, but it just seems like that's absolutely not possible. So looking through here at the A's, we've just got I think it's James Hunt here again, just putting in a little dig at the front. So he just managed to get a couple of seconds before he was caught. So, I mean, I've raced this course before, and it's really hard, especially as a triathlete, because I think we like being in the pain cave. We like, you know, suffering a bit. I think it's really hard to play the patience game. Basically, the people who win, as you see, probably like a James Barnes, maybe even a Hayden Wild, it's just so much more efficient to draft in the pack and then just sprint at the end. Save all your matches for a big sprint. But as triathletes, we kind of want to suffer a bit, so we end up sort of putting in all these little digs and then maybe burning through a few too many matches. I remember watching a Z Pro triathlon race. I think Alistair Brownlee might have done that a bit. It's just so tempting to just put in those efforts off the front. As we're watching Ben Phillips here as they're coming through a little pack of D riders with a few C riders there. Looks like Ben Phillips has put in those attacks early on, but now has just settled into around 4.2, 4.4 watts per kg. So the pace has definitely settled a bit. They're 17.5 kilometers in. They're over the halfway point. Don't have much longer to go, about 12k. So they're going very, very quickly through this course, really just absolutely blitzing through the tarmac. I've got Bobby Kells here. He's really developed over this league, actually, Bobby Kells. He's a ex-elite New Zealand rower. And I think, like I said about patience, he maybe didn't have so much of it in some of the earlier races and just would blow up a little bit after the first sort of 20 minutes. But it looks like he's playing it a bit smarter today and just really easing into this pace and maybe looking for that sprint at the end. As we're following Ben Phillips here, looking in this group as we're coming past these monuments again, absolutely flat course as they go over a few little cobbles though, which will slow them down a bit, but with the bunch effect, it's nothing like the dirt that you'd see in the jungle loop. We'll click over to the women's race. Oh, sorry, I was commentating on the men's race while showing you the women's race. So there we go. Well, I'll take you back to the screen of the men's race. So here we go. We're watching Ben Phillips. Nothing really much has happened. They've really settled down. As I say that though, I do see James Barnes putting in a definite attack off the front to chase down Hayden Wild. So Hayden Wild, he likes fireworks. He doesn't want to sit there in the pack all day. He really wants to mix this up and attack. So he's riding now at about 6.5 watts per kg, absolutely drilling it off the front. You can see Dougal Allen there. He's kicking up at around, he was up at 10 watts per kg there to catch on to this little attack. And I think that is going to put some hurt on those behind as we see this pack is strung out. But I do see that looks like Brodie Madrick's putting in a little attack to just get back onto that group. So, I mean, when those little attacks happen, you're really hurting already, but you only actually have to put down about, a 5-second all-out effort and you will get back onto that group. So we see Ryan Kazanowski still there, Heath Eckersley, just saw Dougal Allen coming through too. So great to see Dougal Allen coming out racing today. Haven't seen him before. He's everyone would know Dougal. Great performances at Challenge Wanaka as well as Coast to Coast. So fantastic to see him joining the virtual world. As we go back and see this group, still have Ben Phillips there, Rush is there. John Newsom just a second off the back, so he just needs to put in a little effort and get back onto that group. Josh Harrison there and James Barnes is just at the back, so we'll see if they've managed to detach any riders during that attack. It looks like they have, so looks like we have lost a few of our A category riders just with those constant attacks coming through from Hayden Wild and Ben Phillips. And there we go. We'll follow Dougal Allen there for a little bit. So there have been some big attacks there as they round out 20 kilometers. So only 10 kilometers to go, not long in this men's field as they're just, I think they should be coming up. This will be finishing lap number 3 and then 2 laps to go. And like I said, it probably will come down to a big sprint finish. But if I was in this group, I'd really want to be putting in a few little attacks and just probably having a group of about 10 coming into the finish would be ideal. Just coming in with a group of 20 is just a bit too much. And you might have some sprinters who, if you could detach them early, that means you'll obviously get to the front of the race before them. If they're still with the group, then they will just blow past and what will be a very, very, very quick sprint finish. You're probably looking up at around 1100 watts, I think, is what James Barnes can hold for a sprint finish. As we look at the live results coming through from Zwift Power, Hayden Wild, he's averaged 5 watts per kg, compared interestingly to Bobby Kells, who has averaged 4.3 watts per kg. So that just shows you sort of the differences in what people are doing in the race. Hayden Wild has attacked a few times, so he's burning those matches, whereas you've got a lot of them sitting here in the bunch. Heath Ecclesey, again, 4.3 watts per kg. James Barnes, 4.6. That's danger, because his sprinting ability is over 1,000 watts to hold for 15 seconds. So they've got to be careful of that group here. So it looks as though the front pack is around 19 riders, averaging 4.6 watts per kg. And it looks as though there has been a detachment of Donal McGoldrick, Fons captain, Quentin Fogarty, Rob Dellimore, have formed a little group of 5, and then behind them is Darragh Walsh, Andrew Vane, Finney and Orr, Gordon McCauley. They are about 2 minutes back now, so they got very, very hard dropped there. But Quentin Fogarty's group, the group of 5, is just 40 seconds back, so they didn't get dropped too badly, but that is definitely a split in the pack from those attacks. And I'll just try and bring up the women's race as well. Let's see here, we've got some live results coming through. I can just see them on my screen though, and they are staying together. I'm loving that women's race with such a big front pack, because we don't often see that in women's racing. It just tends to break up a little bit earlier than the men's for some reason, and they have really just stuck it together, and they've got a great front pack there. That's just so awesome to see. Let's go here to the event, see if we can see the women's race coming through. Just can't see it quite at the moment, so we'll come back to that. And there we go, just pulling up now. Right, live results. So I'll tell you a little bit about the women's field. We've got a good mix of B's and A's. 10 riders now in that women's field. So they have dropped. Lindsay Armstrong, Heather Bateman has dropped off. Julia Spark. So I had some great emails from Julia Spark, actually. She's coached by Tony O'Hagan. So thanks, Julia, for the photos you sent through and also the stories. So that main group, 10 riders, Brittany Litton there, Penny Pawson, she's averaging the most. Like I said, she's on a time trial bike, so she will be averaging very high watts because she will not be drafting. Kate Brown from Sweat 7, our amazing athlete from last week. So it'll be interesting to see a little battle between Kate Brown and Penny Pawson, I think, today. Rachel Quinn in that main group, Sarah O'Grady, Sophie Lyskett, Rebecca Clark, and rounded out with Martina Fellman. So great front pack there in the women's race. 10 riders averaging about 4.3 watts per kg as they are just over 10 kilometers in to their race. So looking at the men's field here, looks like Hayden Wild has put in another attack. I mean, said it once, I'll say it again. I love the way Hayden Wild rides. It's so inspiring. He's not like happy to just sit in a pack, which you could so easily do. He wants to attack. He's up at 6 watts per kg. This is a huge effort here. He is breaking down this pack. He's followed by Josh Harrison, who just rolls through now in that blue Tron bike. So he is riding just up at around that 4 watts. So he caught that up, that Hayden Wild attack, and then he has pulled it in, and the pack has caught up, but that is going to be burning some legs back there. So this group's still at around 15 riders, it looks like. They're 24 kilometers in, so they're just about to hit their last lap, the bell lap of this course. So we might follow the women for a while and then go through and follow the men for their last lap. So we can see here in the women's field, I've just been following Penny Pawson there. You can still see, a big group of riders there as they're following, catching up to some D's up ahead. So we've got Samantha Frost and Kylie Frost. So that's our mum and daughter team racing in the D category. Kylie Frost, coached also by Tony O'Hagan. So thoughts go out to Kylie, and she's been a great supporter of Zwift in this series. So awesome to see her out. Looks like from the time gaps there that she is riding along with her daughter Samantha, who's only 8 years old. Also has a very debilitating form of arthritis. You may have seen, actually, she's been featured on Zwift a few times. I think recently, maybe just last weekend, did 25 laps of the volcano circuit. That was over 100 kilometers, or just on 100 kilometers. So amazing that an 8-year-old can do that, also with a form of arthritis. So amazing there from Samantha Frost, as they have, looks like they've just come through and passed those two, this lead group of a woman, as we see them also catching up to Mel Saltiel, Dory Gilming, Zara Jansi's another O'Hagan Sport athlete, Pammy Morrison is a C group, Ellie Boggs there also. So huge turnout from the ladies today. So great to see them out there, as we see our A riders coming through and passing some of our D and C groups up here on this course. So looks like they're about 12.4 kilometers in, so that would be just passing through lap number 2. So they'll be now into lap number 3, and they're really sticking together there. Penny Pawson on her time trial bike. Maybe she just wants a hard sort of FTP effort today for her training, so she will not be able to draft, just as a FYI. She will only be able to, people can draft off her, but she will not be able to draft anybody. So she will have no break today with that time trial bike. As we go through that field, we'll follow Emma O'Connor there as well. So she came second last week behind Kate Brown, managed to stay with Kate Brown almost for the whole epic climb, but then just dropped off at the front and then never saw Kate again as she time trialed her way to the finish. So let's see the men here. They don't have too long to go, so they're about 26, just over 26 kilometers in, a 30-kilometer race today. So we'll stay with the men here as these A riders come through. They'll be starting to get a little bit twitchy. 3.5 kilometers to go. Who's going to start leading out these attacks? As we see, actually, so we may have just missed a massive attack from Hayden Wild. Whoa, 6.3 watts per kg. He's got 8 seconds. 8 seconds on that group behind him. That was an absolutely dominating attack. He's still riding about 7 watts per kg. He is obviously just going to TT away with this. Can these guys catch up though? They were 8 seconds, now it's 6 seconds. I think they're just letting him hang out there, burn his matches, and then now they're catching up. So Ben Phillips is leading a charge here of around 6.4 watts. But Hayden Wild, he knows if he just stays above what they're chasing with, he will manage to get away. 7 seconds back, Ben Phillips just rocked up there to 8 watts per kg. So this is a very dominating performance from Hayden Wild. However, these guys may be able to catch up. Let's put 7.9 watts per kg. I don't know, you can just see from that angle there, they were just catching up in the background. So they're passing through some of those C riders there, the blue little dots in the top right hand, 8.5 watts per kg. So he is matching what Ben Phillips is doing to try and catch on. So Ben Phillips, every time he goes up, you can see Hayden Wild pushes that pace even more. He just went over one of those little gradients and he's up pushing 7.4. Ben Phillips went up there to 9 watts per kg, but Hayden Wild 8.4. He may actually just take this away. They're just over 2 kilometers to the finish line, but that gap has dropped to 5 seconds. Dougal Allen on the front now, 7.4 watts per kg. Ben Phillips 8. James Barnes 8 watts per kg. Now they're only 3 seconds back. You can just see great camera angle. They've got him in their sights. I think he will end up being caught. And this, what you would do now maybe is as soon as they catch, someone from the pack attack again, and that's maybe how they could have a little breakaway as they head through Monument Ave with just under 2 kilometers to go of this A group men's race. As we see Hayden Wild being caught by the pack here, James Barnes, he was coming through. We've got Ben Phillips there as well as they're passing some of these B and C group riders. But Ben Phillips here leading with a little attack there by James Hunt. He's just moved his way off to the front, but Ben Phillips 6 watts per kg. Ben has really been absolutely dropping those drop bombs over the last 2 kilometers to rein in Hayden Wild. So I don't know how much he's going to have left at the sprint. I'm going to be a bit worried. I would be a bit worried about James Barnes, who has an absolute engine on him for those sprint finishes, as we follow Ben Phillips here on that black Cervelo with the orange top, coming through with passing some of these lower category riders. Dougal Allen right behind Hayden Wild at the front of that group within the last kilometre to go. So now they're really probably going to settle in a bit here, start their hand holding, start looking around, wondering who is going to attack first. Keep an eye out, everyone, on those orange numbers. There you can see Hayden Wild dropped them there for a bit. Those orange numbers on the right-hand side is what we're looking for. So I can't... There we go. Hayden Wild, he was dropping 13.2, 15 watts per kg, 15.9. He is 600 meters from the finish line. He's coming through this big pack of C and D riders. He may have known that he could have used them to hide a bit. You can see him moving up the finish line is coming up. Look at those watts, 13.8 watts per kg. He has absolutely gapped the field. Ben Phillips is chasing out. James Barnes, though, James Barnes, never count him out. 11.9 watts per kg. He's come following Hayden Wild there. It looks as though that Hayden Wild took it out. Looks like James Barnes in second and Ben Phillips in third. It got mixed up a bit there with our other category riders, but that was absolute phenomenal sprinting from Hayden Wild. I just didn't know he had it in him. I knew he could attack up hills. I knew he can time trial. I know he can do those long range attacks as we saw in league number 1, but I did not know he had a 13 watt per kg sprint on him. So congratulations, Hayden Wild. Amazing performance. So that was just great to see. That is an amazing sprint finish. As we're back here with some of our B and C group riders as they're coming into the finish, keeping an eye on the women. They've the whole group is still together and they're just passed over the halfway mark. So we'll just have a look at some of our B category riders coming through to the finish. We see Enos Young here, O'Hagan Sport athlete, A Paredes here as well. As we move our way up the field. These guys will be sort of in their 4th or 5th lap of the race today. Making our way back, Gareth Evans here, New Zealand Defence Force, Lee Orns from Black Sands Triathlon Club. There are some big bunches on the roads here in our B and C categories as well. Terminen here from O'Hagan Sport, Gomez Font, we've got some foot traffic athletes, Tony Lyscott here and M. Bunton. So big turnout here in the male field. Coffee here from Tri Wellington, Matthew Sheaf, Hayden Goldsack. Good to see him out here representing the C's. And wow, big turnout. So some good bunches that are happening around the place in these lower category rides as we see Quentin Fogarty here. So we'll follow Quentin till the end. We've got Donal McGoldrick with him as well, and Rob Dallymore. So this will be an interesting little sprint finish as they're coming only about 400 meters to the line as we see the watts being dropped. So 10.4 watts from Donal McGoldrick. He's being chased down by Quentin Fogarty, Speedy Fonzales right on him, and Quentin Fogarty, perfect drop there, perfect drop. Oh, looks like he may have just come through into second there in that little bunch sprint. So we're going to just see if we can see some of the other riders finishing their race. Some of the C categories here. Ross Plumpton here, had a great email from Ross Plumpton. Some of those photos you saw were shared from Ross, and he looks like he's having a good race out there today in the B category. I wouldn't mind just seeing Gordon McCauley here. Looks like he did not put down a sprint finish in today's race. But let's have a look. We'll go back to the women's race and see what is happening here. So this group of women looks like it's still stayed together. We're following Emma O'Connor there. I'll go to Zwift Power and just see how big that front group is. Down to 9 riders, so they might have actually just dropped one since we last caught up with these riders, averaging about 4.1 watts per kg in this women's race. And we'll just go over to the men and see. Okay, so we've got Hayden Wild won the men's race in a time of 36:56, unreal for 30 kilometers. Averaged 5.3 watts per kg, and he was riding that sprint at an average of around 12.6 watts per kg. That's huge. Ben Phillips, second. So Ben Phillips actually managed to hold off James Barnes, looks like by about 1/100th of a second. So very tight finish there. Followed up in fourth place by Josh Harrison. So that's our A plus category winners. A category looks like Ryan Kazanowski's taken off that. He was just 2 seconds back. Followed by Dougal Allen and Heath Eckersley. They're in the A category, and that was some great racing. We'll see if any of the B categories have finished. Looks like they haven't quite finished, so they'll be finishing soon. As we're following the men here, it's not so many attacks happening in the women's field. Gotta say, they're sort of sticking together here, sticking quite close. They're 19.4 kilometers into this race, so they're just over 10 kilometers to go in the Fan Flats race number 5 today. Just see if I can pull up some interesting stats about the women's race. Angie Waller's up there with Britt Lytton, so they're riding, they're in B category, but they've actually managed to get up into this group of A category riders. They're averaging about 3.6, so Angie Waller and Britt Lytton are doing a nice job of staying in the bunch. They're not really putting their nose out in the wind too much, and they're managing to save those watts. So big watt differences here that you see amongst riders. It's quite interesting how we pull up all these stats. So they're just rounded out 20 kilometers, 10 kilometers to go. A group of 10 riders here in the women's field. We're following Emma O'Connor as we look. Let's have a look at what Kate Brown. So she was our winner from last week. We've got Dinah Simpson there just in the yellow and black kit. And Kate Brown racing for Sweat 7. She had a great race last week. I think her average was around, almost like 290 to 300 watts. Pretty amazing. So she today though, she's still averaging about 298 watts. She's got a huge raw power on her compared to some of these other riders. She's in the veteran category, so along with Angie Wall, hope these ladies don't mind me saying what age category they're in, and Sarah Morrison. So they're doing pretty well against a bunch of sort of younger riders in both the senior and the masters categories. As we see that they've just coming up to around 9 kilometers to go. You can see there with Kate Brown, 285 watts. So she's really hitting some big power numbers here. But what will be good to see is who in this group has the sprint prowess. So what I see here, Emma O'Connor. She has got probably what I see here in this bunch, the fastest 15-second watts per kg, but in raw power numbers it looks as though is Jenny Story still in there? Jenny Story, she actually from her massive sprint last week looks like she's got the highest power numbers at around 584 watts for 15 seconds. So if we can see Jenny Story here in this main group, she may have dropped off, which is unfortunate. Oh no, there she is. So Jenny Story, who we can see here, she's just sitting at the back. She's definitely got her hand on what Zwift racing is all about. She's saving those watts, sitting at the back. I actually saw her out recceing the course last night, so she'll know this course well. She has actually, if she's watching this coverage, I do know that her partner is Bobby Kells, who just finished off the men's A category. If Bobby can pass on the message, Jenny actually has the highest raw watts for the 15-second sprint. So if she saves her watts in this bunch, she could take out the sprint finish. So it will be interesting to see what happens in the women's race there as we're following Jenny Story just at the back of this main pack of about 10 to 12 riders. And let's have a look what happened in the men's B category. Taken out by Richard Harrison, it looks like. They were averaging about 4 watts per kg. David Goodall, I think he's part of league, in second, and David Jaggs in third. So I think they're all league riders, so we'll have to check on that. Let's have a look if any of our C category riders are finished. Looks like Paul Buttercup, I think is his name, won the C category. It's Stuart Jones in second, and Chris Redpath followed very closely with the same finish time as Gareth Evans there in the C category. And D category looks like they are still out on course. So some great racing there in the men's field. As we see some feather power-ups being dropped, they are about 7 kilometres from the end of this race. The women's race here out on the fan flats in Richmond. Jenny's story we're following here. As I said, she's got the highest watts, raw power watts in the women's field, but it is getting strung out a little bit there up those little hills. So some of the lighter riders, definitely some of the triathletes will be a bit lighter, and up those hills, especially if they drop a feather, will be able to just get away. And it looks like there has been a break in the pack. So we look here at Nicole Newman, Rachel Quinn, Heather O'Neill, and Sophie Lyscott have just been dropped off that group in front of them. So you can see Rachel here dropping that drafting power up. So hopefully someone jumps in front of her and she can make the most use of that power up. But it looks, I think they may catch up as we see about 3 seconds. They're just up ahead. Come on, guys. They're only 3 seconds up the road. If they can just hop on to the back of that group, it's just a horrible situation sometimes when you're in this group, you're chasing hard, and you just see that front pack edging away, as now that front pack is about 5 seconds up the road. Oh no, that's just devastating. So they may start to catch on. We'll have a look. We've got Angie Wall and Jenny Story just sort of yo-yoing off the back there. So whoever is driving this pace, looks like Sarah Morrison up the front here, 4.7 watts. So that's why Sarah Morrison was absolutely drilling the pace there through those flat sections after the little hill, and they have started to detach riders off the back. It looks like Anthea Oliver has just dropped off, and Angie Wall have dropped off this main group. Jenny Story's still there, so she's our sprinter of the pack. Keep an eye on Jenny Story as we're watching Sarah Morrison still pushing around 5.5 watts per kg. So this is a definite attack off the front from Sarah Morrison. So she's on a very vintage Zwift setup. We can see here that's almost the default setting. So she's not riding a fast setup whatsoever, and she is just being pulled in here by Penny Pawson and Kate Brown, but that has been a attack that has decimated some of the field, and they've just fallen off the back as we see Sarah O'Grady here 1 second back. This is just forming a little bit of a sort of flat, a single line off the back. Look at that. You just got those riders who are just desperately trying to get on. Angie Wall is one of those. Nicole Newman, unfortunately, with Rachel Quinn, have now dropped to about 18 seconds off this main group. But great work staying with them for so long. I mean, they were staying up with the fastest of the fast A category riders. So great to see that they are still in a group together. We've got Dinah Simpson here, Eva Nugent, Britt Litton, Jenny Story, our danger woman with the sprint, and Kate Brown and Penny Pawson pushing off the front at about 4.5 watts per kg. They're just coming into the bell lap, so about 5 kilometers, just over 5 kilometers to go for the end of this women's race. And Stephen Bradley has pulled in his picks for today. He is saying Kate Brown for the win. Be interesting to see. She does have some amazing watts that she can hold in that time trial kind of a format, as we saw last week. Absolutely dominating performance. But today, I'm not sure. My pick is maybe on Jenny Story. I mean, she's a ex-elite New Zealand rower. She's also was part of the Black Sticks New Zealand hockey team. She's no stranger to elite sport, and she has the raw power numbers. So let's see how Jenny Story could finish off today. But we do have a whole bunch of other women in this main pack as well. So we're looking here at Anthea Oliver, rider out of Wellington. Great to see her in this main pack. Dinah Simpson. I had a great training camp with Dinah Simpson when we were getting ready for the Topor 70.3 back in January, I think we were training together, and she does not mess around on the bike. So I can tell you she's a very, very strong rider. As we look at this women's field, I'm going to go through and have a look. We've got anyone basically over 500 watts is going to be a dominant sprinter today. So we've got Britt Lytton, 514 is her PB for 15 seconds. Like I said, Jenny Story, 584 for 15 seconds. Kate Brown, though, 535. So they're pretty close. They're not that far apart in that raw sprint power. So, I mean, it's anyone's game. To be honest, it's probably going to be who has the aero power up. Whoever's holding on to that aero power up as they're approaching about 3.5 kilometers to go in this women's race, whoever has that aero power up is going to probably take away the win, because these women have stuck together in this bunch. There've been a few little attacks, as we saw before, from Sarah Morrison and Penny Pawson that has broken off about 5 or 6 riders. But as we watch Diana Simpson here, they're coming up to 3 kilometers to go. They're in the bell lap. And like the men's race, it's all going to come down to that last sprint, as we saw. I mean, Hayden Wild put in that early attack, but then he was caught fairly quickly by the sprinters at the back. I don't see any attacks coming through here yet. We do actually have, as I say that, I do see Sarah Morrison coming through again at that 5.76 watts per kg, 7 watts per kg. No, this is an attack. She is an attacking early. So I'm not sure what Sarah's strengths are. She's obviously great at that power off the front. If she can hold that on, there's a 7 watts there. She's gained a little bit of time, but she got caught a bit quickly. So key is, if you're going to put in that attack, you need to hold it for about 45 seconds to a minute. It will hurt, but it will put the hurt on everybody else as well, as she just gets sort of bundled up by that pack and drifts off to the back a little bit. We're just up that little gradient. A few power-ups being dropped as they're passing some of our C and D riders. So Sarah Morrison out the front again, 5 watts per kg. She needs to make this stick, otherwise she's burning way too many matches for the sprint finish. Great to see Rebecca Clark here as well. Right on her. So Rebecca Clark comes past with that very quick bike setup. She had the Zip, I think 408s or 454s on a very stealth looking road bike. So she has set herself up well with her equipment today to have a great finish. Just passing some of the other riders here as we see who is leading out now. We've got Penny Pawson at the front. She's on the time trial bike. Sarah Morrison, who's been putting on a few little digs, and Bet Clark here in that yellow and black kit. Penny Pawson's in the New Zealand kit. She's the New Zealand eSport Zwift champion. As we see Sarah Morrison, again, 8 watts per kg. Can she make this stick? She hasn't been able to before. She's got 1 second. They're within 2 kilometers to the end. She has to make this one work. Otherwise, she's going to get drowned out in that sprint finish. So if we can just see who, she's got 2 seconds now. If Jenny Story, she's our sprinter of the pack, she's 3 seconds behind. Now Sarah Morrison, 6 watts per kg, 5 watts per kg. If she can stay up around that 6 watts, she will manage to get a breakaway. We've got an American rider chasing her down, and Rebecca Clark coming up, and she is only 4 seconds back now. This is getting a little bit dicey for the group chasing behind. She's only 1,400 meters away from the finish line of today's race. 5 seconds back now. 6.4. Someone from this chase pack needs to pull this up. No one is doing that. Penny Pawson now, I can see going into the higher watts. Penny Pawson is up at 5 watts per kg. Still not enough to catch Sarah Morrison, unfortunately, but she is only 6 seconds back. 6 seconds. She may just roll away with this win. She's in the last kilometer. These guys behind need to start working together. They need to pull those watts up. They've been sitting in the pack all day long. They need to pull out those watt bombs and start catching her up. We've got an American rider chasing now. That would be good for our league riders. They can jump on her and not actually burn too many matches. Penny Pawson now 6 seconds back. Sarah Morrison, absolutely unreal effort, 6.3 watts per kg. I'm going to say it now. I think this is it. I don't think she's going to get caught. She's 800 meters, 700 meters now to the finish. She's going to round this hairpin, and then the finish is just under the green sprint banner. So she is now 7 seconds ahead of that chase pack of A's, being led out now by Kate Brown. I am shocked that they're just going to race for second. No one is chasing her down. This is an absolute walk-away victory for Sarah Morrison. Now riding at 5 watts. This is unbelievable. Great racing here. She is coming through 5 watts per kg. There's a chase here from Jenny Story, who I did say was our sprinter of the race. And looks like Sarah Morrison is going to take this away. There's still 6 seconds back. She is now 200 meters to the end. There she goes. She's going to cross the banner. The others are 4 seconds back now. There's a big sprint happening behind her, and it looks like it got taken out by Kate Brown, followed by Emma O'Connor and Rebecca Clark. So wow, what a finish in the women's race there, as Sarah Morrison just absolutely, I'm not going to say walked away because she was putting in some unreal numbers, but really just dominated in that performance. As we see Eva Nugent here, Nicole Heumann also, with Cherie Scott here as well. Looks like she's on a TT bike too, coming through in some of the D categories. So some great racing here. Kylie with Samantha on her wheel, so she's towing her daughter around today, which is nice to see. Great turnout in the women's field today. And let's just have a look here as we'll watch Rachel Quinn, a Hagen Sport athlete. We'll see her come through to her finish. She's 400 meters away. She's just on the wheel of Nicole Heumann, her fellow Hagen Sport athlete, with Cherie Scott behind them as well. As they're coming through to the sprint finish here, just watching Rachel Quinn, and that will round out our coverage for today. So thanks everyone for coming along. One more race of the series to go. A bit of a different one today, but I think we all did Tony proud. So good work everyone. Go have a nice day of recovery.